Let's talk about Decentraland. Let's talk about the Mana token. Let's try to figure out what's currently happening. Why is the price rallying so much? Is there so much usage increase? Is there potential manipulation going on? What's driving currently the price? Let's have a look at the buyers. Let's have a look at the sellers. Let's try to figure out whether or not it still makes sense to buy Mana. Now, this is a very data-driven channel. And so we start off with the on-chain data on the usage of Decentraland. We actually don't see much of a change in the last year. This is the number of buyers on Decentraland, and it's just hovering around 10 to 30 a day. Now here is the Decentraland trading volume over time, and we've seen a massive rally, a lot of attention at the end of 2021 and beginning of 2022, but then things tended to flatten out. This is a cumulative chart. The more honest chart is probably this. It shows the weekly trading volume, and at one point we had been above 4 million in a single week. Now we are at 17,000. The Decentraland items minted on Polygon is also in a not much better trend. And so what on earth is going on? Why is the price up 30% today, 85% this week, and almost 160% this month? Now at one point Mana was above $5. Now we are still below 1, so the current rally in the grand scheme of things doesn't look like that much. But let's continue deeper into the buying and selling behavior again with on-chain data. Now Mana is listed on several chains, but most holders are on the Ethereum chain. We've got almost 300,000 holders. But not all of those holders are created equal. What we've got over here is the number of retail investors versus whale investors. And the way we differentiate here is simply with a minimum holding threshold. So how many tokens at minimum need to be in a wallet to be counted in such a chart? And on the left side, that threshold is 2,000 tokens. So at the current price, that's a bit over $1,000. That's what I would still consider retail. Now there are not 300,000 of such wallets. There's only 16,000. But still, when a wallet owns just $1,000 worth of the token or a bit more than that, it's not yet a whale, right? It's still retail demand. Now in the middle, we've got a slightly different chart. This curve looks very, very different to the left one. And that is because the minimum holding threshold here is a 10x from the left side. So this is not 2,000 tokens. It's now 20,000 tokens, or a bit over $10,000 worth of the token. On the right, another 10x. So that's now more than $100,000 worth of the token. So this here on the left is retail. This in the middle is medium-sized holders, and on the right we've got the whales. Now those are all-time charts, right? They start in 2018. What I find very interesting about those charts is that none of those holders over the long period actually dumped the token a lot. Yes, we did have our corrections, but after launch, most of those wallet cohorts continued to accumulate over the long term, or at least kept the number of holders. Yet we see a price chart like this. And so that's another reminder of how important tokenomics are. It's very important to see how much is the supply expanding, who gets the tokens, and that's a problem that a lot of GameFi tokens in the early days had, right? They gave out tokens left and right, and as long as the game grows very quickly, of course the price can also keep up, but once the growth stops, even if people simply just continue holding, all of those additional supply that gets sent out as incentives depresses the price a lot. That's why the long-term chart looks like this, while the long-term holder charts don't really look that bad. And so here's what happened in the last month, right? We went up in the price by 150%. The number of holders though did not go up. It rather tended to go down for small retail, but also tended to rather stay stable for the other wallet cohorts. There's really not a lot of new demand. There's really not a lot of new investors on chain. The on-chain demand does not explain a 150% price increase. Yes, there are new wallets interacting with the token over time, and that is accelerating. But at the same time, we've got a lot of returning users, and that's always higher than the number of new users. So it's mainly bot accounts trading against one another. And so here's the Mana chart that most people look at, right? It's the Mana price in US dollars over time on a linear scale. But instead of looking at this with the common linear scale, we can also look at this in terms of a logarithmic scale. Now same distances have the same kind of percent returns. So we don't look at deltas in US dollars, we look at deltas in percentage returns. A drop over here of 60% is the same as a drop over here of 60%. But instead of looking at this long-term US dollar chart, we can also look at this relative to Bitcoin, and then we get this chart here. Here's again the price versus Bitcoin on a logarithmic scale, and since launch we actually went up by a bit under 50%. And so it appears as if this long-term downward trend might now turn around. We have seen somewhat similar rallies in the past, but this could be a potential turnaround. Now since day one, people people compare the Mana token with the Sand token, right? They're both OG GameFi tokens. Let's have a look at the relative performance of Mana to Sand. Now this is the long-term performance of Sand relative to Bitcoin. It doesn't look that different to the long-term chart of Mana relative to Bitcoin. But what we've got over here is now Mana relative to Sand. So it initially underperformed massively, but for whatever reason, it might be tokenomics, it might be usage of the game, Mana outperformed Sand since the end of 2021 by quite a bit. That's a growth of 114%, but it is now coming down again. Now all of those charts look pretty scary, right? The long-term trend is still bearish, especially versus the safe Bitcoin. When we invest into a cryptocurrency that's riskier than Bitcoin, we want to get long-term outperformance. We don't want to get crushed by 90% and more. That being said, a lot of those charts went down because all of crypto didn't do that well. All of the altcoins rather didn't do that well. So this is the others dominance. This is how much of all of crypto is in the altcoins that's not in the top 10. And this went down by 47% in the last 2 years. And since we seem to be seeing somewhat of a floor and we went up by 17% recently, people are talking about a potential altcoin season again. That thesis would be supported by the stablecoin market cap. We continue to see more and more money flowing into crypto. So this is the market cap of DAI, Tether, USDC and BUSD over time. Over here we see the collapse of Terra Luna, of the Anchor protocol, of the UST stablecoin. During that downtrend we also saw FTX collapsing, and since October of last year we see an expansion of crypto again, and that expansion is recently accelerating. Now the stablecoin market cap goes up whenever fiat is deployed. So the way this works is when you send your hard-earned fiat currency to a centralized exchange, say Binance, Binance will then send over that fiat to a stablecoin issuer. The stablecoin issuer will then issue tokens, they will then mint tokens and keep hopefully the money in their accounts. And so we can see whenever new stablecoins get minted or get destroyed, and currently they get minted. In other words, a lot of fiat is flowing into crypto, and that is at an all-time high. Now in the last week, Decentraland and Sand and those larger tokens performed pretty well. So here's Decentraland, here is Sandbox, here is Stellar. I recently published a video on Stellar as well. And those are all performances around 100%. I still believe though that the best risk to reward is still in the meme coins. It's in the smaller cap meme coins. Have a look at those performances here. We saw Big Dog Think going up by 670% in the last week. Or Lucky Coin by more than 400%. Bully by almost 300%, etc. You get the gist, right? Most of those performances are in the market caps of hundreds of millions, not in the billions. The big question always is, how can we get one of those outperformers early, right? How can we spot a small altcoin that has the potential to 3, 4, 5x in a single week? My answer to this is the following. It's shown over here on the screen. It's wallet tracking. So I like to track the wallets of influential people, of top traders, of people that move markets, of influencers. I like to look at what are they buying and what are they selling. And for example, over here, 2 days ago, we had the Martini guy that bought the Moon token. And that was directly on Pump.fun. So that was the Solana blockchain. And he bought this for 4012. And we then, of course, discussed this at length. But have a look at what happened to the token. It made a massive run up, more than 1000%, then came crashing down, no surprise here. But have a look at the current price. It's currently at 4093. So even after this massive collapse, the price is still up by 8x or so. That's how early some of those signals can be, right? How else can we find tokens like this that shoot up like that? This was literally a 100x since the signal. Now here is the guy that we are tracking here. This is the Martini guy. He's got 149,000 subscribers, and of course when he talks about a token, that token generates some attention and the price tends to go up. And so here's the magic in all of this. Through on-chain analytics we found various of his wallets, and we track his wallets. We've got 12 of his wallets in total. Finding those wallets is the actual art of the game. Now not all of those signals go up that much that quickly, but still, have a look at this. This is Alex Becker. He bought the Spectre token at $2.38. And again, that was just a bit over 24 hours ago. That's up now 14%. And probably you know Alex Becker, he's got 1.5 million subscribers. The reason probably why the token didn't go up much more yet is because he hasn't published a video on the token yet. At least he didn't promote it recently. Here are the wallets that we track by Alex Becker. We've got 12 in total. But there's also a way to get these kind of tokens even earlier, to follow influencers that are a bit more risky in their approach. For example, here we've got crypto gains that bought Spectre already at 16 cents. So that was way back in the day. It was over here. Since then, we are up more than 1,500%. And so here's crypto gains. He's also got a bit over 100,000 followers. So again, when he talks about especially the smaller tokens, they can get quite a bit of momentum. We do have a few more of his wallets. He tends to change wallets quite often. We've got 55 that we are tracking. In total, by the way, we track more than 400 wallets. And so really, this is, I believe, where the real alpha is. It's not buying those large cap cryptocurrencies with billions and billions of dollars. It's buying the small ones, but doing it smartly, not just picking something randomly in a list. It's following the smart money. It's following the people that tend to make very profitable trades and thus get very similar returns to them. And so I like this approach that much that I made a dedicated tutorial section just on this topic. So this is 8 videos in total. How can we find influencer wallets? How can we track those influencer wallets? And how can we interpret the signals that we get from the tracking? It's all part of the premium membership of this channel. The link is down below, thebitcointrader.com. Premium is not just about wallet tracking. It's also about on-chain analytics. It's also about backtesting. It's about portfolio diversification and risk management. There's more than 100 tutorial videos in total. Once we have got a wallet signal, we also have to discuss when should we buy, when should we sell. We also have to compare our on-chain analytics. That's why we've got dedicated chats on the individual altcoins as well. So feel free to check it out. It's currently $125 per month. There's also a 1-week money back guarantee. So in case you don't like premium, in case you don't learn anything, just message me within the first week and I'll refund you 100%. There's really zero risk for you. So can Decentraland, can the Mana token go higher? Yes, of course it can, but probably there's quite a bit of manipulation by the centralized exchanges involved here as well, right? They are the market makers, they hold funds besides just the custodied funds of the customers, and they want to see as much volatility as possible. Volatility equals trading fees and liquidation fees. They want to have active markets. And it's always hard to say what happens with a token once it's in the hand of the centralized exchanges, once they are the ones that move the price. If it's not the on-chain metrics that move the price, but it's the centralized exchanges, it's the market makers, they can do anything, and it's pretty much impossible to anticipate what they're thinking. And so really the best risk versus reward, I believe, is not trying to beat the casino. I think it's trying to beat the people that aren't that skilled. It's trying to use data where it's public. It's trying to trade directly on the chain. If you got some value out of this video, feel free to subscribe. I publish videos regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. It helps the channel grow. See you in the next video, or see you in premium. Cheers!